Hey, folks, my guest today is Bill Babel. If he looks or sounds familiar, it's because we had him on back in 2018 and 2019, actually. He's building a very cool org chart tool called Pingboard. Much bigger vision, though. They've got an exciting change and update to announce today. When we had him on last, they broke about $4 million in revenue. So, guys, help me welcome to the show, Bill Babel. Bill, welcome.
Thanks, Nathan, for having us.
You bet. Now we have Lath too. We're going to get to Lath in a second, but Bill, give us a little bit of context. So, a product that Pingboard is today, and then introduce Lath and sort of how he's now infused with the business. And
Gotcha. Yeah. So we've spent a lot of time since we last talked expanding the product into other areas, and a lot of it revolves around the whole shift that happened with remote work. And I'll let Lath show that in a minute. But the big news and why Lath is on this call is I've hired Lath as our new CEO. I was founder and CEO, and I'm taking a step back now. And we're entering this new phase of the business, and there's a lot of exciting things ahead that Lath is going to lead us through.
Now, Bill, this is this sort of transition. Very few people have enough courage to come on and sort of talk about it, which is why I jumped when you offered, because a lot of founders. Frankly, a lot of founders maybe should replace themselves, but it's a really hard thing to do from an ego perspective. I guess talk a little bit in terms of, so where, when did you, and you also had a board, right? So I guess give the funding history. So how much raised to date?
We've raised $7.5 million. We did it as 3 separate seed rounds though. So we've never truly done a Series A.
Okay. So I think 4 million 2018, 2.5 in late 2013, a little earlier than that, about another million. So 7.2 total.
We raised 7.5 total.
7.5 total. Okay, great. And so I guess when did you first, a company was, I think you told me historically in 2014, you break $240,000 in ARR, right? In 2018, you break probably don't even remember, but 3.1 million in 2018, 4 million in 2019. The business is growing. So when did you start going, you know what, maybe I'm not the guy to lead this thing?
It was probably 2 years ago I started having the thoughts, but didn't really decide to do this until last year. But we crossed 5 million in revenue in 2020, right before COVID hit, and we're at 40 people. And I was already starting to realize that I was kind of a little bit struggling as CEO, because I'm really good with a small team going from 0 to 1, but as the team scales, there's just a lot of things you have to do to operate a business and lead, and a lot of things just didn't come as intuitive to me at that scale. We scaled back a little bit after COVID hit and got down to 25 people and felt a lot more comfortable there. But as we've really got our growth clicking over the past year, we're hiring like crazy right now. And I've realized, pretty soon I'm going to be not the CEO I would hire to run the business through this next phase. So that's why I decided to step back and hire somebody better than me to help scale the business from here.
So step one is you stop ignoring that little seed in the back of your head, and you're like, I got to do something about this. I've been thinking about it now for 16 months. What's the step after that? Do you write something? Do you do something with the board? What's step 2?
The first thing I did was talk to the board. Even before I had decided this, I started talking with them, and they're good about asking tough questions to me. And they were like, do you really want to be CEO for this next phase? And I thought for a second, and probably 30 seconds of silence, and then I said no. And then there was, that day we decided, all right, well, let's go hire somebody amazing. And it took 11 months to find our new CEO. So we hired a recruiter. They really helped us scour our own networks and networks outside of people we already knew. And it took a while. Probably half the time was figuring out the exact profile of what we were looking for. But we definitely found the right person.
Oh, what's going on there, YouTube? Good to see you guys. Now imagine this. You love watching these interviews with SaaS founders, but imagine if we took all of the valuation data out from over 2,807 interviews I've done manually. Saves you a lot of time. Well, we've done this. We've built it into the beautiful interface inside of FounderPath. Check this out. I'll show you how you can access this in a second, but you log in, you connect your Stripe account, you see your valuation real time, you can see what it changed over the past 88 days, and even set goals for valuation this year. Now, the secret to valuation is there's many different ways to value a SaaS business. So the reason you're going to see 3 or 4 different valuations inside of your FounderPath dashboard, this is all free by the way, is because depending on who's doing the buying of your SaaS company, you're going to get a different valuation. A VC is going to pay a different valuation. Private equity firm is different. If you're going to do a minority sale, that's different. And if you sell the whole business, that's a different valuation. You can see all those when I hover over here. Right. So the teal is what a VC would pay. Yellow is what private equity, and red is if you sold the whole thing outright. Now, what's cool about this is not built off random data. Again, you guys hear these interviews on YouTube. All these data are built from real-time valuation data points founders share with us on the show. So traction, 1.2 million, seed round, 3.7 raise. They sold 22% of their business. Go in here and filter by the event. Maybe you only want to see companies that have sold the whole business. Well, here are a bunch that have been acquired, the valuation and the multiple. Maybe you're going out right now and you're raising your seed round. Well, go in here and look at all this recent seed deals that went down, what they raised, what valuation they raised at, and what percent that they sold. There's never been a larger data set of SaaS valuations than what you can get now inside of FounderPath, and we're thrilled to bring it to you. All right, we're going to go back to the YouTube video here in a second, but if you want to check this tool out, if you want to jump in and sign up, you can check it out for free to get your valuation at this link, founderpath.com/products/valuations. Or if you go to founderpath.com and hover over products, click on get your valuation here and go ahead and sign up to give it a whirl. Again, all that valuation data live right inside the platform. I hope to see you there. All right, let's jump back into the interview. So we want to get over to Lath here in about 2 minutes, but first, Bill, extra context there because I'm trying to develop a playbook here for anyone else listening to do this. So who did you use? Can you name the recruiter you used?
Yeah, Caldwell was the name of the firm, and
you were happy?
Yeah, very happy. They did a great job. Yeah.
And can I ask? So most recruiters are charging like 30% to first year salary as like a fee. Is that sort of the model they used with you?
Yeah, that was it. Paid over time during the course of the search.
And what were some of the inputs you gave them? They said, Bill, board, what kind of person do you want? And you said, prefers Loom videos over Zoom, extrovert. Like, what do you make a list? How does that work?
Sort of. They had their own scorecard format that they used. It was easier for me to just like tell them and let them draft it as a scorecard though. But the things that were important to me is someone that really understands product and product-led growth. So, we didn't want someone who had a more traditional enterprise sales background, turn CEO, that would come in and kind of layer on a lot of just sales around an existing product. We believe a lot of our future is continuing to expand the product and have additional value we can upsell into our base. And we don't have a sales team today, and it's all product led where customers sign up online. And I think it takes a special type of person to understand the mechanics of that and build it. Not saying that we shouldn't have a sales team. We're probably leaving a lot on the table by not having a sales team, but we've engineered a well-oiled machine with kind of self-serve type growth. And we want to continue to scale that as well as layer on other ways of going to market. So someone that really understood that. And that was the hardest thing to find.
And before we go over to Lath, the last question, my audience, I think they're probably wondering, I'd be wondering, why not promote from within?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the main thing is we wanted experience, someone who had led other companies through similar stages of growth. No one on our team has done that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now introduce Lath. When was the first meeting and what was it like? What were your initial impressions on both? I want to get both sides. So Bill, your initial impressions, and Lath, your initial impressions.
So we met in January, I believe. And it's strange. We have a lot of mutual connections, but we had never met before. And the recruiter got
this year.
This year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we met. Like I said, we had mutual connections through the networks here in Austin and San Antonio, and just somehow had never connected. And as soon as I saw Lath's profile, I was like, yeah, this on paper sounds like what I'm looking for. And then we started talking, and in the first meeting or two, it was pretty clear that Lath was different than a lot of the other candidates that I had been talking to. And he got really interested quickly as well, which it helps a lot. We quickly started talking about strategy and what we wanted to do, as opposed to it being a traditional interview.
And so Lath, what was the first question like Bill on the board asked you in terms of, hey, Lath, what do you think we should do from a strategy perspective here? Like, what was that first question that really got your mind hooked to the challenge?
I think it was kind of, we were asking each other, like, what is pingboard and what does it want to be in the future? How does it need to evolve? That's immediately where my head was at. And I think the answer is we don't know. So I think that's where the dialogue really started. And I started, my wheels started spinning around, category design and strategic narrative, and like, how can we really focus the story of pingboard so that we can accelerate growth? I'm here to accelerate growth. The company's growing, 27% year over year. It's at 6.3 million run rate.
You're at 6.3 today.
We're at 6.3 today. So, okay. It's a nice little growth curve there, but there's a lot more we could do. My goal is to take it to 40% plus growth in the next 12 months. So I think we can do that. We provide retention and employee engagement for the remote workforce. That's really where we're sharpening our sword, so to speak. And that's what pingboard is. Now, there was this big world-changing event that occurred in March 2020 that forever changed the nature of the workforce. And workforces now are remote and remote first as far as, office jobs, right? So that I really started keying in on that, like even sort of during the interview process. I think that's where we really started getting the wheels spinning and in our head, and it was great. It's a great conversation.
And what was your opportunity cost? So what was Bill going to have to convince you to leave to do pingboard?
Quite a bit. I mean, everything had to kind of fall in place. I was a general manager at Weedmaps, which is the largest software and data company in the legal cannabis sector. So I was hired to stand up their entire B2B SaaS division. This is a company doing north of 240 million in revenue. Is a huge step up for me. But really, like, my roots are like B2B SaaS, taking companies from this 4, 5, 6 million dollar run rate to 10, 15, 20 million. Had some success at ScaleWorks with a couple companies. So everything had to line up. Great board of directors. That was the first thing. Super experienced.
I know I'm sitting here going, how the heck did Leif get Kip and crew to agree to a 40% year over year growth target with VC funding? You got to be at like 80, 90, 100% to tell a damn good story. So how did you convince them to agree to 40% in year one?
Well, they haven't agreed yet, but look, I'm just throwing numbers out there right now, but look, just based on where we've been, I think we can aggressively grow. We haven't raised a traditional huge round. I mean, we are looking to raise a round in the next year, like a traditional Series A, but we're not looking to play the game of, let's raise a, $50, $100 million round and just go, burn, right? We want to be methodical about it. Bill's built an amazing business. It's profitable. It's growing. And we have this whole switch to the remote workforce that we're really going to lean into. I'm under promising and hopefully over delivering as far as the growth, but I think there's a great story there. We can start.
Well, Bill, and we didn't touch much on your backstory, but you've already had sort of financial success in the software world with an exit to Rackspace and other angel investing at Capital Factory, and just very active here in Austin and personal endeavors. So, true or false, you kept the cap table pretty darn clean because you were the sole founder. It's not like there were 6 parties that each owned 15% that you'd get to agree here, right?
There were 2 founders, me and my CTO, Rob Eanes, and he's staying on board. He's excited about this next phase. But we raised from, we have a lot of angels, about 40, but they're all like entrepreneurs, built and sold companies before, have different areas of expertise that I tap into. And I think we talked on our last call about, like, we've run the business in a way where with every round of funding, we try to be able to get to profitability. And that's what we've done. We never thought we actually would pull the trigger on going profitable, but we did when COVID hit because we had to. We wanted to obviously survive. And it was nice to be in a position to be able to do that and not raise any more money in the meantime. But it's time to really step on the gas. So I think we've been conservative. And when we think 40% growth, that's like, man, that's a big step up from 25. But I'm sure we could do more, especially as we put a plan together to raise.
And what was the name? You actually had a really good name for that chart you put together. I think it was like it's day zero cash number, or what was that? You put a model.
Touch zero operating plan is how.
There you go.
The idea is,
I wasn't close, but I was in the right realm. Touch zero operating model.
Yeah, it's a really simple idea of if you have a certain amount of cash, there's no point in sitting on the cash because it doesn't do anything just sitting in the bank. You want to invest it in your business. But if you invest more than you have, you go negative and you have to raise money. Most companies design for that. And if you're growing and hitting all your numbers, it's pretty easy to raise more money. But if you miss it, you have a bad year or bad couple quarters, it can be pretty damn hard to raise money. And VCs, they know what they're doing. They'll take advantage of that and buy a little bit more of your company than otherwise they would have. So the idea is like invest it all, touch zero in the bank account the moment you hit profitability. You at least design for that, operate towards it. And if things are going well, you raise money 6 or 12 months ahead of running out, because you never actually want to run out. It's more of a optimization you make month over month to run the business. And as we think about raising, we may change that strategy, but that's how we've run the business to date.
Mm-hmm. I love the model. So I guess going back, Lath, over to your side. So product vision moving forward, you want to play sort of in the remote space. How do companies retain remote employees, keep them engaged, keep them happy? That's accurate, right?
100%. Yeah, that's really what Pingboard does. We just don't tell the story properly yet, right? And haven't. There's a lot of things in the product that are coming soon that are going to really make this a powerful suite for retention and engagement. Think about not only employees networking with one another and learning who's who and what's their picture and where's the org chart, what are their interests, their likes, but also recognition and giving applause and integrating with Slack to be able to communicate more easily. But then we're really looking to target the people ops teams. Right now, the pain and suffering, so to speak, is in the people ops teams. People are leaving. The Great Resignation is real. How do we help them? Continuous feedback as far as surveying the employee base, one-on-one meetings, and being able to look at who's holding effective one-on-one meetings, what managers have engaged teams, things like that. So really upping the game from what people think of, oh, you guys are an org chart company. It's like, well, org charts were the first piece, but really we're a retention and engagement company. We think about all these interactions between managers and teams and people ops teams and managers. So how do we empower people ops teams?
And I was just say, I can't help but identify. This space is incredibly hot, and there are billions of dollars of capital flowing through the private markets for this kind of technology. Some examples, obviously you had JobBite, Jazz HR, Next, NXT, combining under K1, massive private equity firm with billions, playing sort of in the recruitment space, but obviously adjacent category is retainment and employee happiness, which they're acquiring aggressively under hub and spoke model, their PE firm. You also have Colin Day and iSIMS backed by Vista, right? Another massive animal. We've got Art Papas with Bullhorn, right? These are all massive companies that would love to actually buy a company like Pingboard, right? So when you go out and you're pretty capital efficient, right? Your ARR almost equals the capital you've raised. So when you go out, let's say you do put a story together, you grow 40% over the next 12 months, you get to the point where you're thinking about a Series A. How do you balance? You're going to hopefully maybe look at the M&A market as well. How do you balance like what a term sheet from a VC might look like for a Series A versus a buyout offer from Vista Equity, K1, or one of these guys?
Being new in the chair, I haven't thought about that much yet. I think the bottom line is we have a lot of runway and there's a lot of opportunity. We're not looking to flip this company. I think, looking at these bigger guys out there, our target's going to be the upper SMB, lower middle market, right? I think that's our sweet spot. So just kind of thinking about the first part of your statement there, like we want companies that have grown large enough to need a tool, right? If you're too small, you don't have people ops problems, you're not feeling a lot of pain, you're too small, you don't need a tool.
Quantify that. How big should the team be to really use Pingboard well?
Yeah, I think, I tend to think of it as like 50 to 500 employees is probably our sweet spot. If you get much bigger than that, getting towards 1,000 plus employees, you're probably aging out of a tool like Pingboard and starting to go to like an enterprise tool, some of those tools you mentioned. Or, we use ADP Enterprise and it has some of that stuff in there. So like, I think our fertile zone, that middle zone for, let's say, 50 to 1,000 employees is our sweet spot. And I think that's a great niche for us to play in, right? We don't want to compete with Workday. We don't want, like, that's not us, right? Those are big, complicated tools with long enterprise sales cycles, implementation cycles, services, like aspects of like I come from the enterprise world. I worked at a Vista portfolio company for 4 years. I know that world really well. We want to be in that 50 to 1,000 employee sweet spot. As far as, weighing an acquisition from a big PE roll up versus, a VC, like, let's see what happens. Let's get to 40, 50, 60% growth and then have that conversation.
I love it. Now, Bill, last time we chatted, you talked about breaking, 1,200, this was back in 2018, 1,200 customers and had about a $220 ARPU. I assume obviously your customer base is like doubled or tripled almost.
Yeah, we're about 2,500 customers today.
And is ARPU still about the same currently, like before late changes or new strategies coming in?
It's been up slightly, but I think it's pretty close to that still.
Yeah. So I guess like the reason I asked that is, do you think if you add no new customers this year, but you invest heavily in engineering and R&D, develop more products for upselling the current 2,500 base, can't you take a $300 ARPU up, double it and get your 40% growth that way? Do you think that'll be the strategy, or will it be PLG, keep onboarding, no touch, high volume, low ARPU customers?
No, I think in the short term, like when I use that 12-month benchmark, I think the way we drive growth quickly is in the base, right? Creating a new, like our funnel right now is really well optimized to org charts, right? But like we're changing the story, and it's like turning a huge ship around. It takes time to change that funnel of net new customers coming in. But we have 2,500 engaged active customers right now in our base. We're already seeing some success using what we call almost like a support-led revenue model, where we have customer success managers that build personal relationships with the teams, consult, demo, and then drive adoption of the new features that way. If you look at our ARPA in the existing base, the self-service base, and the ARPA in our assisted base, it's dramatically higher. We're closing, we closed a $1,200 a month deal on April Fool's Day. I had to make sure it wasn't an April Fool's, versus our base ARPA or our new customer ARPA is more in the $150 range. So it's dramatically different. So we think we're going to have great success.
So before we wrap up here, I got the chance to get it in San Antonio over the weekend. The timing actually just happened to work. This was just by chance, but I got the chance to talk and interview some of the folks that worked with you at Chargeify. And they go, actually, Marcus probably wouldn't mind if I mention his name, Marcus Nicholson. He goes, man, Lath, that guy's intense. This is going to be perfect at pingboard, right? He just said super intense and a dashboards guy. What does that mean?
Super intense. And I love Marcus. I think your dashboards guy, as far as using metrics to drive accountability and drive growth in the business, I think he was also alluding to the fact that we launched a business intelligence tool together at Chargeify, which really was the catalyst for Battery Ventures for us to exit to Battery Ventures. I think I'm intense. I'm high energy. Like maybe I drink too many energy drinks in the morning, but like I get excited. Like I love wins. I love collaborate. I'm very collaborative, right? I'm gonna get in the room and whiteboard kind of person. But I love hearing that feedback from Marcus. But yeah, I'm intense. Like let's win. Let's do this. Life is short, and these 5 years is an eternity in tech. We don't have much time, so like let's get cracking.
On that note, let's wrap up here, Lath. We'll have you do the famous 5 this time instead of Bill. So number 1, favorite business book.
Oh, Good to Great.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
No, there probably should be. Now that I'm a CEO, I need to get on that.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building pingboard besides your own?
For building
pingboard. Something you use frequently, an online tool that helps you build the business.
Oh, honestly, like it sounds lame, Google Sheets. Honestly.
Yep. No, I have seen Bill's Google Sheets and they are nothing to mess with. I will tell you that. Or Excel files. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night, Lath?
With an 8-month-old and a 3-month-old, 2-hour blocks, maybe.
Wow.
6 hours.
That's great. Okay. So married with 2 kids.
Yes.
And how old are you?
I am, 47.
47. Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20.
How important mentors are in the relationships you build as a young professional, and having mentors is absolutely critical. That's how I got to the CEO role.
Pingboard launched in 2013. They've really crushed it as a tool focused on org charts for the first 5 or 6 years. They grew from $240,000 run rate in 2014 up to a $5 million run rate in 2020, now up to a $6.3 million run rate with about $7.5 million raised. Very capital efficient business. Also revenue per employee, very high, but they've said, you know what, we've got to grow faster. We've raised capital. It's a big space. They said, today we want to start building a tool that helps teams recruit, manage, and keep their remote employees happy. Bill is passing the baton to Lath, the new founder, to do that. We'll see what happens as Lath targets 40% year-over-year growth and maybe a Series A later this year. Guys, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks, Nathan.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.